Welcome to Upticks with Jake Falcon, founder and CEO of Falcon Wealth Advisors. In this podcast, we help high net worth individuals overcome financial complexities. We do this by enhancing financial literacy and discussing topics in a language free from industry jargon. Join us as we help explain exactly what having a solid financial plan means, as Jake draws from years of experience in helping hundreds of individuals get financially organized and focused on their goals. We hope you find Upticks educational, entertaining, and shareable. Now, on to the show.
Welcome back to the show. This is episode 198, Travel Time with Liane Lance. Liane, thank you for joining me on the show.
Thanks for having me, Jake, and happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so like we were talking before we started recording, always working here, but the sun is shining in Kansas City, so cross my fingers. I'm going to try to squeeze in around a golf this afternoon for my birthday. So
excellent.
Yeah, but thank you for joining me. I thought this would be a perfect timing as I have more and more clients starting to travel about the country and the world, frankly. I thought it'd be perfect to bring the co-owner of Picture This Travel onto our show. So thank you again for carving out some time. I know it's early and I know you probably work all hours with clients traveling all over the world, but I thought it'd be neat to go over some travel tips, talk a little bit about your agency, and maybe help our clients, figure out why they need a travel agent and where they should maybe be looked to traveling next. So first off, do you want to mind just giving me a brief background of how you got into the travel business and a little bit about your agency?
Of course. So I was a corporate exec for a large healthcare IT company for 30 years. And I retired from that in 2008 and decided I wanted to do something totally different. And like most people, I love to travel. But what you have to realize when you own a travel agency is it's not about loving to travel, because most people do. It's about loving selling travel and supporting people when they are traveling. So I started thinking it would be a hobby, thinking it would be something I just did in my part-time. But now we have I have a co-owner with me. So I started out individually on my own. And then in 2014, partnered with another agent that was really doing a lot of groups. I was doing a lot of individual travel. She and I came together to create a virtual storefront. So instead of having a brick and mortar building, which is really kind of silly in this day and age, we created a virtual storefront, and we now have 14 agents in our agency. So it's definitely not a part-time gig. Yeah. It is way more than full-time that we do. So obviously the last 2 years were pretty horrible for us, but between 2019 and now, so we're about a $6-7 million agency. So probably kind of in the mid-size for an agency. We do a lot of individual travel, leisure travel. We don't do any corporate travel. So it's all individual leisure travel, and we're primarily word of mouth referral.
Yeah, that's awesome. So explain to me what that 6 to 7 million, does that mean that's how much in trip bookings you guys do a year?
It's gross revenue. That's in our industry, we're measuring gross revenue there.
Got it.
So that's not our yield or, our profit. That's our gross sales, which is what's important to all of our suppliers and how they set our commission levels.
Got it. So if somebody plans a trip for $5,000 or $10,000, that goes into that gross revenue number.
That's right.
Perfect. And so you mentioned that you initially love to travel, but then now to be a travel agent, you've got to love helping people travel. So is that what you say you love about what you do? So what do you love about what you do today? Maybe that's a question.
Actually, it's kind of funny. One of the things I enjoy most is that in my corporate life, a lot of interaction with people and made a lot of great friends. And now I get to help those same people plus their children as they get married and go on vacation, and their parents and their friends take great vacations. So it's been a great way for me to stay connected with my existing corporate life, but also to expand it way beyond. So it was wonderful to have that base to start my business with, but now it's just grown by leaps and bounds. So it is a very, very busy place around here these days. It was busy the last 2 years, but in the wrong direction. We spent a lot of time working for free, canceling trips. We canceled one for you, actually.
I know.
And
Right when the pandemic broke out, if you remember, it was right when it
exactly, I
happened.
do remember. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so we worked long hours to try and get our clients' money back in their pocket, while we really made no money. So it was a tough year, but thank goodness we're a virtual storefront, so we have a very low overhead, as low overhead as we can maintain, and still have run a business. But it was tough. It was really tough.
Yeah, well, thank you. I owe you one. So my
You
next,
do.
well, to be fair, I haven't traveled really abroad. We did some easy trips to Mexico, but you'll be the person I call once we're planning that big trip, hopefully again, because my wife wants to do it. So
Exactly.
So you mentioned how you don't do corporate travel, mainly individuals. Would you call that then a specialty in your business, or do you get even finer, like with parts of the world that you specialize in?
Well, we have 14 agents, so we have a lot of us specialize in different things. We all sell cruises. We all sell all-inclusives in Mexico and the Caribbean. We all do Hawaii, Alaska. So those are what we consider kind of our I wouldn't say necessarily bread and butter per se, but for a lot of our agents, that is our bread and butter. For me in particular, I really specialize in Europe and Australia, New Zealand. That's where I focus a lot of my work, is helping people customize those trips. All of our agents do Europe, however, though, I just do primarily all of that is my business. Yeah. So what I still do all inclusives. I still do all the others, but my time pretty much goes into those individual customized itineraries for Europe and Australia, New Zealand. Australia, New Zealand is just kind of getting back open. So that's not as hot, but Europe is incredibly hot. Everybody wants to go to Europe right now.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. So yeah, so speaking of that, obviously, we know COVID was awful the last 2 years. Is there something that people might not know about COVID-19 and how it impacted the travel industry, or maybe how it's impacting it today, that maybe a good tip for people that they should know?
Oh, well, I think the biggest thing is that everything's changing all the time. So what what the rules were a month ago are not necessarily the rules today. That's the hardest part for us, is we have to stay on top of all those rules as they change, both for our country as well as the countries that our clients are visiting, all the rules for vaccination and boosting, and traveling around with your vaccine card. What do you need? Do you have to have that? All of those things are constantly in flux. And to make matters worse, we also have a very changing supplier environment, where the airlines in particular can't hire enough pilots. So we've got a big problem with the airlines constantly making schedule changes. So where we had maybe, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 schedule changes every 2 weeks, we now have probably 3 or 4. Each agent probably has 3 or 4 schedule changes a day. So we're constantly having to retouch all of our trips over and over again to make sure that the air is still working and that the air is still valid and all the connections are going to work. But they're canceling flights, consolidating flights. So that's probably the toughest part for us. And then a lot of our suppliers are struggling with hiring, just like restaurants here are struggling with hiring. So they're not necessarily completely open. The resort might be open, the hotel might be open, but they might not have enough people to staff it to fully fill those rooms. So it is still a struggle for people in travel. We're back, we're working, we're very busy, but it is still a lot of work. And that's one reason why we try to tell people it is really good to have somebody that has your back, because we stay connected to our clients 7/24 when they're traveling. They can call me in the middle of the night and I will answer the phone. All of my agents do the same thing. They do not ignore the phone just because it's the middle of the night. So, which I think is comforting. And sometimes our clients, they might get to a destination and there might be a problem with their rental car. The rental car is not available yet or something like that. So we have to figure out what to do for them. If they didn't have us, they would be on their own trying to figure those things out. And if you are not solving those problems every single day, you might not know what to do in those conditions or what your options are.
Wow. Yeah. I thought you retired. I guess not. I mean, you are full in. This is awesome. So, so that leads to my next question. So who should be using a travel agent and who should not? It sounds like everybody should be using one if you're traveling abroad, at least.
Well, yeah, to be honest, other than Hawaii and Alaska, and then Disney Universal. So we actually do have several agents that specialize in Disney and Universal trips. Those have become very complicated. They always were somewhat complicated. That might sound funny, but all of those parks have different rules for their their tickets. And is it a hopper ticket? Is it one park per day? What are the hours? Can I have early hours? What are the dining options? All of those things. And it's very expensive to go to those parks anymore. So I think that, people wanting to go to Disney Universal should definitely work with a specialist. So I'm very fortunate that we have several agents in our agency that specialize in those types of trips to help people through. And even more than ever now, because they're constantly changing, they don't have the fast pass anymore. And then they went to the Genie, and it's very complicated.
Sounds like
to do those trips. And then if you want to link reservations together so that everybody is doing things together and everybody is traveling together and dining together, those things are very tough to do sometimes for individuals. So but other than that, domestic travel, we don't do a lot of. People don't need us for domestic travel. If you want to go to Las Vegas, book that on your own. You can do that yourself. If you want to go to Palm Springs, you want to go to New York City, occasionally we might get involved in those trips if they're complicated. But for the most part, people don't need us for domestic trips. We do sell some products that would be really good for people to know about. Like we do, Rocky Mountaineer is a train, a very high-end train supplier. They pretty much work in the Pacific Northwest, but they also offer a product for the Rockies and Red Rocks. So there are some things that people can do here in the United States. There's some group opportunities to do some things if you want to go to dude ranches and stuff, and we do that. But if you just want to go to Wally World in California or something like that, most people can do that on their own. So
got it. Makes good sense. So I think a lot of people are curious too, is that how are travel agents paid?
Well, we earn two ways. One, we earn a commission from the suppliers. So not air, usually we don't make any commission off air, but we make a commission from the suppliers. So the cruise lines, the resorts, the package suppliers that we use to bundle air and hotels and transfers and insurance together for all inclusives. That's where we're getting paid our commission. But we have gone to a fee-based system to engage with us. That fee was always embedded into the total price, but now we're having to get that upfront. And that's really from a survival. The last 2 years has taught us that if you're not charging a fee for your time and then nothing happens, then you have lost those hours and you don't get paid for that. So we do collect a fee for those for engaging with us initially, and that is a non-refundable fee. So I unabashedly will say that we do have a fee to engage with us. It is somewhat based upon the type of trip that you want to take. So.
Got it. So what's a good, and you know what, I think that's a great idea, by the way. And again, now I feel bad because you did all that work for me and Rachel, and we had to cancel it. And by the way, credit to you, you did get my money back, so thank you.
I did.
You did, and it was awesome. So because we were going to go to France on this Viking cruise, and it was we paid a lot of stuff up front, and you got it all back. So thank you again for that, Liane. So what's a typical range though, so people know I think that's great that you're doing that up front and being transparent about it, and people are okay paying for people's time because of the value that you bring. But what's a decent, and again, we won't hold you to it, but what's like a broad range?
Well, if you're wanting to put together like a complex trip, custom trip to Europe, that's going to be probably a $250 engagement fee.
Yeah, totally reasonable.
Actually, yes, it is. And again, that money was always in the total package. We've pulled it out and we collect it up front as a non-refundable fee
Yeah.
to be able to engage our services, because we just can't afford to work for free or we won't be here.
Right.
And I don't think any of your viewers probably like to work for free. It's not fun.
No,
So,
no. And I don't work for free. So I get it. Like, and that's perfect. And I appreciate that. And I'm glad you guys made it through the 2 years, because I'm sure a lot of travel agents had to fold, right? And so the fact that you
yeah,
guys made
sadly,
it
we saw a
through,
lot of them fold. Yeah.
yeah,
Especially if they had a brick and mortar. We saw a lot of people that had brick and
Yeah.
mortar businesses either move them home or get out of the business. So,
Yeah.
but it, like any kind of situation like this, it does weed out some of the hobbyists, the people that are not really serious about selling travel. And we definitely are. So
Yeah, I could tell. So what about a couple of tips or tricks for people that are starting to travel about? Like, do you have anything that you tell all of your clients, like, be sure to know this or be sure to do this? Is there anything new because of the world we're living in today?
well, there's a website that we use that's called Sherpa, and it is for travel agents and people that want to travel the world, and they want to know what are the requirements per country. And that does a really good job for people that are vaccinated. Sadly, it doesn't do as good a job for people that are not vaccinated. It might say you're going to have problems if you travel and you're unvaccinated. So if you're unvaccinated, you're right now somewhat limited in where you can go in the world easily. And what you can do once you get there. So, you want to be careful about that, because you don't want someone to go to a country, they can get in maybe if they're unvaccinated, but then they can't do anything. They can't go on any tours or excursions, or potentially might not even be able to go to restaurants if they're not vaccinated. So it's important to, I think, engage with someone that is doing that all day long. Is it something that other people can't research on their, sure they can, but it's what we do all day long.
Right,
So.
right. That's good. That's good. And then what about some destinations that you're seeing? Are you seeing a pickup in certain parts of the world where people are frequently more often now that maybe people wouldn't know about or have thought about? Is there a
Well,
hot spot right now where people are going?
well, Italy's always a hot spot. Italy's always the number one destination. We do a lot of Europe, a lot of different ways. We do river cruises, but we also put together the planes, trains, automobiles, the tours, the transfers, all of that for people that want to go through Europe on their own. They don't want to be with a group of 40 to 60 people.
Right.
Frankly, we don't do a lot of those types of trips. We really put together custom itineraries that are curated specifically for that client, for what they want to see and do, and their family wants to see and do, and the budget that they have to spend. So that's kind of our specialty, is really working with your budget. If your budget's not realistic, we're pretty upfront right at the beginning and honest and saying, I don't think this is going to go very far. And a lot of times people just need to understand what it costs to travel, especially with airfare going way up because of jet fuel. Just like it costs more to fill up your car, it costs more for them to fly that plane, for them to have that cruise ship going from place to place. Everything costs money. So things that are costing you individually, they also cost the suppliers. So I think a lot of people are a little bit surprised. They think, oh, there's probably all these specials and all these, great deals. Well, a deal is only a deal if you understand what the price was previously. If you don't have a frame of reference, you don't really know if what you're getting is a deal or not. So that's what we do every day, is we try to find you the very best price for the budget that that you're willing to spend, and to give you the best experience at it. But Italy has always been one of the number one. It's not a destination for you to go to right now if you're unvaccinated. If you're unvaccinated, you're pretty much going to be somewhat limited to Mexico, Caribbean, and then anything in the United Kingdom, London, Scotland, Ireland. Most of the other countries are it's going to be tougher if you're not vaccinated. And then even if you are vaccinated, there are some countries that will require you to have a negative test result to get in. Of course, our country still requires you to have a negative test to come out. So one of the things that we recommend that's been easier than trying to get appointments for testing in another country is to take the eMed test with you, the Binax test with you, that you can use through telemedicine over the internet. So the night before you come home, that's what makes it tough. The United States decided that test has to be done within 24 hours of you flying home.
Oh, wow.
And if you can't get an appointment, or they're closed, or they can't get the result, that's very stressful. Taking the kit with you, really kind of mitigates that stress tremendously, because you can just do that test over the internet. They watch you over the internet take it, so they're proxying those results, and then they give you that to upload to the airlines. So
Oh wow, they watch you shove the thing up your nose on video?
They do.
Wow.
Yeah, they watch you over the internet take the test. So, but that's been a saving grace for us to be able to do that, because it can be difficult to try and get people appointments in different countries. So.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's fascinating, interesting, and it's crazy that you're having to deal with that. What about you personally? Like, do you have a favorite place, or maybe you don't travel anymore because you're working all the time, but do you have a favorite place that you prefer to go?
Oh,
like, where do the travel agents travel?
Well, and again, I have to say it depends. So I have lots of favorite places that I like to go. I really enjoy Europe. I think I did a lot of traveling for that in my corporate life in Europe, and love it. Italy is obviously a favorite, but France, love France. It would be hard for me to tell you a part of Europe that I don't enjoy. I do like it. I like the Caribbean and Mexico very, very much. It's hard to find a favorite, because it just depends what I'm wanting to do, what I'm wanting to learn about. There's a lot of history in a lot of these places, and I enjoy learning that. So I'm not really a person that lays on the beach very well. I have to be kind of out doing something when I'm traveling. And I think almost all of the travel agents in our agency would say every time we travel, I don't care where we're going, we always carve out time to inspect new properties and new sites for our clients to see. So for example, I was just in Mexico last week, and I was there for some meetings, but I also inspected 7 properties while I was there.
What side of Mexico were you on, or where were you?
I was in Cancun. I was up in the up in the hotel zone, as they call it, up in the top of the peninsula.
Gotcha.
So I was there for some business meetings, and to meet with my business partner, my co-owner of the agency. And then we also looked at 7 properties. So those are long days. That's a lot of steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're touring the rooms and the restaurants and the beaches and all the things they have to offer. So it's a lot of steps, but it's the best way to know what to sell to your client.
Yeah, I would really appreciate that too. Yeah, if I was going to Cancun and you said, I've looked at these 7 resorts,
yeah,
this is what's going to fit what you and Rachel want to do. That's awesome.
Yeah, last year we took our entire agency to Cabo, and we inspected, I believe, somewhere between 15 and 20 properties while we were there. So it was a lot.
Yeah, but I don't feel sorry for you. You're in Cabo, right? Or Cancun. Exactly. I know it's a lot of work, but not a bad. It's not like you're going.
We don't feel sorry either. We enjoy it. We like to do it, so it's not a bad day.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about any? Do you have any favorite authors or any books, travel related or not?
Well, I would say for me, I'm a big mystery, history story person. I read lots of different kinds of books, depends on my mood. But I have to say one of my favorite authors is probably Ken Follett. You might know him from the mysteries, like Eye of the Needle, those kinds of books. But I also really enjoy his books like Pillars of the Earth, because there's lots of history in there. And it's history that is not as easy to obtain as, because that's, thousands of years ago. Right, so, right. I appreciate the learning about that, because it's just not as easy to get to. And that always makes then traveling. So then I always end up wanting to go wherever I've just read about.
Makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What about a life or business motto?
Oh, I don't know. I think probably just the normal, treat people the way you want to be treated. It's easy to get frustrated and mad. We certainly all have our days here, and we do get frustrated. I think the main thing is to remember that most people are trying to do their best. So even if I'm upset with a supplier, I'm on the phone with them, I'm like, I'm not upset with you. I'm upset with the situation. You're doing a fabulous job. You're lovely, but I don't like the situation that we're in together. So, but I think that's mostly is try to be understanding and try to treat people the way you want to be treated. And that was the motto that got us through. All of our agents, I swear, I was so proud of them. And we still have all of them. We didn't lose a single one during the pandemic, but they all worked incredibly hard hours. And I'm not talking just 8 hours a day. I'm talking 12, 16 hours a day, trying, because it took sometimes months and months to get people their money back. because it had never happened before. So
Right.
at first the airlines would say, no, you can't have your money back, because that was their policy. And then you have to go back because the airlines decided, well, yeah, we would give you a credit. So then we have to go back and retrieve that and say, okay, we can get you this money back. It was I hope we never have to live through something like that again, because obviously it was horrible for the world and so many people passed. But from an economic standpoint, I don't, that was pretty tough. We saw a lot of businesses go under.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the good news though for you is now that you've gotten through that, you can get through anything though, right?
God, I hope so.
I mean, that's about as bad as it gets.
I hope so.
That's about as bad as I think it could have gotten. I mean, it was crazy how everything just shut down travel wise. So
the one good thing is we did learn that Zoom meetings are very effective, and you don't have to get in your car and drive all the time to meet people. So it did force us into some new technologies, which we're really happy about. We were using some of these technologies before, but for example, we use a lot of our documents are all electronic now. So if you have a custom trip, instead of me bringing you pieces of paper, everything's on a mobile app and everything's digitized, and you can access it from your phone. You can communicate with us without incurring any data minutes through the application. We can build itineraries electronically easier because we embrace the technology that was out there. So it cost us some money to invest in that technology, but it has also been the salvation for us to be able to build our agency, build our business into a more efficient and effective agency for our clients. So, and really most everybody doesn't want to travel with paper. They want everything digitized. So we give them a web version, and then their entire itinerary is on their phone.
that's awesome.
And all their documents are on their phone. So that has been just a great, and that came out of the pandemic. We were using some of that before, but because we had to go to some of these Zoom meetings and things like that, it totally changed how we interact with our clients. So, and actually I think it's made it better, because we can do the Zoom meetings from the very beginning with our clients and get to know them over the video. So, because a lot of our clients are not geographically near us.
Right.
They're all over the country.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, the same thing with my business is I think I have another Zoom meeting today with a client, and they've embraced it. I've embraced it. I'm a handshake guy, but
Yeah, I like that too.
But I don't think the video is so bad, right? I mean, I feel like you can connect with somebody and get a lot more accomplished, right? And if it's more efficient for the client, then why not, right? So,
well, exactly. And with us, if we tried to meet with everybody in person, people would be driving here or we'd be driving there. And then you had a lot of lost time for both parties. And this way we don't have that in transit time lost. So we can cover a lot more ground.
Right. Well, good. Well, thank you again, Liane. Is there anything else we left off that you wanted to share with our audience?
Just travel, make sure that you, that you engage somebody that knows what they're doing. Our value isn't necessarily in trying to get you the best price. Certainly we do work to get you the very best price, but if you're just bargain shopping, that's not the best reason to engage an agent. It's because we know what we're doing. We know the destination. We know when to travel, when not to travel, where to go, where not to go, what things you shouldn't miss. A lot of times our clients, when we talk to them about the destinations, we can easily get carried away and say, oh, you have to go see this. And then you have to walk a few blocks and see that. Oh, and you have to get a gelato here. So we, a lot of us from our own personal travel, and then all of our agents, we all talk with each other and share information all the time. And then our industry as a whole, you'd be surprised. You think it's a very competitive business, but we share information with agencies that are very, very close geographically to us. We all help each other out. It's been, that's one of the big surprises for me in this industry, is that how much all the other agents around the country help each other.
Yeah, that is surprising. That's awesome. But I think that in the end, you're just helping your clients more by doing that. So that's great.
Well, well, it's a, givers, you give, people need information, you give it, and then you're going to be on the other end of that sometimes. So you're very willing to give that information out. But it was a very nice surprise to the business. And for the most part, it's a happy business. And that was for me, coming out of healthcare IT.
Mhm.
I loved that industry for a long time, but I wouldn't say it's always a happy business. It's a
Sure.
struggle.
It's tough.
Yeah,
Mhm.
very tough. But most of the time, travel's a happy business.
Yeah, before the pandemic broke out. So
Before the
good.
pandemic.
Hopefully we're on the tail end of that and you can get back to some of what you originally signed up for.
Anything that looks like normal would be good.
Right. Well, thank you again so much for joining me. If anybody wants to contact Liane, I can certainly connect you with her. Like I said, I have half of the experience with Liane because unfortunately I had to cancel my trip. It literally was right when COVID broke out, but I know some other clients that have worked with you and obviously say some really good things. So thank you again, Liane. I'm sure you've got a busy day with Memorial Day weekend. I bet you have people traveling or out, but thank you so much. Yeah, have a great weekend.
Well, thanks for having me, Jake. We really appreciate the opportunity to tell people a little bit about what travel agents do, and because not everybody knows.
Right. Well, thank you again, and have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Upticks. Click the subscribe button to be notified when new episodes become available. Also, be sure to visit our website, falconwealthadvisors.com, and click the Contact Us button if you'd like to meet with Jake and his team.